Alrighty, we got a new car. Can you guys guess what it is? Hints I'll give you right now. It is a 1993. It has a little 4-cylinder engine. It is manual everything. It is the base model of this vehicle. And it was cheap. And it runs pretty good, actually. So now with all of that, let's get in the car, get set up, and I'm going to give you all everything I think's wrong with it, what we're going to need to do to fix it, and all of it, and what it is in the vehicle. We're in it. And so what am I in? What have I bought? Well, I bought a 1999, or whoops, not a 99, I don't know why I'm thinking that. I bought a 1993 Geo Prizm. So why did I go and buy $1,000, which is what I paid for it, 1993 Geo Prizm? Well, there's a few reasons. One, as y'all have seen on the channel so far, the Focus's engine has given up the ghost. 439,000 miles is what I got out of it. It's time for a new engine. So, engine's going in it right now. I'm hoping to have that done this weekend. Because I like having the hatchback back for work. But I needed something to drive outside the Infiniti Project Camera. I like driving the Infiniti, but there's so much stuff on it that if something goes wrong with it, it's expensive to fix. There's 210,000 miles on that car now. It worries me. It's not giving me any signs, but I'm just waiting for the turbo to wear out. I'm waiting for the alternator to go. I'm waiting for the fuel system to fail. I'm waiting for something that's going to be expensive. And when it goes, I don't want to drive it every day for work. I don't want to put that many miles on it. I don't want to load all the stuff that I have to load in the car and damage the door panels and everything else. You know, I don't want to do all of that. That's supposed to be my nice car. So, you know, I needed something to bridge the gap. And for a while, that was my 90 Ford Ranger that I had. It turned into a project and I just couldn't get it done in time. I literally gave that truck away. It was too much on my plate. And to be honest, I probably shouldn't have bought this car. But, you know, I can't help myself. I'm a junk car addiction person. You know, I don't know if there's a term for automotive masochism. There we go. It's been a week, guys. We've had snow and ice down here, and I'm running on fumes, and I had a migraine yesterday, so my brain's fried. I'm trying, and y'all are gonna get a raw form of this one, I promise. So yeah, so I needed something to bridge that gap, and this popped up on Facebook from a friend that had it. He does a lot of work with ministries. The money went to a good cause that I paid for it. I did not try to talk him down at all. He asked, matter of fact, he asked for $999. I gave him $999, and then I gave him $1 for his time, you know. And that money went to help people. And this helps me out too, because I've had this for the last couple of weeks now. I've been able to drive it back and forth. And it runs okay. It runs pretty good. The engine in it runs good. The transmission shifts good. The brakes brake okay. The parking brake is useless. I got to figure that out. But, you know, it runs good. So why would I be willing to pay $1,000 for a Geo? So for people that don't know, what Geo was there was a segment for small cars that came in that none of the big three American car companies were ready for. And they had to go out and partner with these other cars. These other car companies that made small, affordable cars, these Japanese car companies. So, you know, Chevy, created Geo, and I'll go into their vehicles. Ford partnered with Mazda. That's how we ended up with things like the Courier and the Ranger and the Ford Probe, and even to this day, you know, an Escape is a Tribute, etc., etc. Dodge partnered with Mitsubishi. The Dodge Stealth and the 3000 GT, or the 3000 GT are the same car. You had the Omni. There were a bunch of little cars that Dodge made that were literally Mitsubishi cars. And like I said, Chevy stood up Geo, and what Geo was their small car company. The Geo Prism is a rebadged Toyota Corolla. The Suzuki the Geo Tracker is a Suzuki Sidekick. The Geo Metro is a Suzuki Swift. And then you had the Geo Storm, which was an Isuzu Impulse. And I could have sworn they made like a Storm GSI or LSI, and that was the turbo car, but looking it up online, they're saying they're not. And I guess a Mandela effect for the cars. If you know of any other car Mandela effects, let me know. But like, I could have sworn, put my hand on the Bible and promised the GSI was a turbo, and I could have sworn that because the entire time in high school, now this tie back around to this, my first car that I could like modify and work on and not get cussed out by my parents was a 1990 Geo Prism. It was the body style before the 93. Same kind of basic car. I think that car actually had power assisted steering. This one doesn't. This one's manual everything. But it is, but it was the one I could tinker with, and it's what I started modifying cars with and working on, and you know, that was like my first little car, and it's, I kind of at the time didn't appreciate the car as much as I should have. As a matter of fact, I jokingly asked my mom and dad, I said, hey, since I'm getting a Geo Prism now, like, is this a midlife crisis car? No, it's not. Again, we're gonna have fun with this car, and I'm gonna get to that. But, you know, so I learned all these things about Geo when I had that car. I still have the Haynes manual for that car somewhere. And my little, you know, I have thought about looking for that 90 Prism again and doing some fun stuff with that, that I never got to do because I didn't have the budget and I didn't have the know-how. I thought it'd be a lot of fun to do that. So when this fell in the lap, I kind of jumped at it. But like I said, the whole time I had that, everybody's like, well, you should go get a Geo Storm engine from a junkyard and have the turbo motor. And I guess that's not a thing. I looked it up last night. Not that it would have worked anyway, because again, Toyota drivetrain, Toyota body. My older Prism was way more Toyota than this one is. This one, the drivetrain's Toyota, I think the chassis is Toyota, but like the headlights are different, the tail light's different, the trunk's different, the doors are different. There's some stuff that's different on this to where the Toyota Corolla in that 93 year model range looks like a smaller Camry, and this they tried to make look like a smaller, I don't know, like a smaller Impala SS, I guess. But I went down to Louisiana, we picked it up, I drove it back, and there's things wrong with it. The steering wheel's crooked, and I don't mean a little crooked, I mean like this crooked. But if I let go of the steering wheel, it drives pretty straight. It is wearing the driver's side tire a little quicker than the passenger side tire. So we're going to try to fix that. I'm going to do a string alignment on it, just something to get me going down the road a little straighter. At least get the steering wheel straight. The radio works, but doesn't really work that well. I think I'm running off of 1 or 2 back speakers. I don't think I'm getting anything out of the front. To be honest, right now, there's my radio. But the headlights work. There's no cruise control. It doesn't have that option. Windshield sprayer works, windshield wipers work, all the tail lights work, roll-up windows work all the way around. A lot of the door handles are busted and falling apart. It was $27 for all the door handles. They're sitting at the house. That's the other thing, is this car is cheap. If I was, you know, there's a lot of parts on this car that I can get really cheap. And again, it's not a bad car. It handles well. The exhaust that you're hearing right now is not like some aftermarket exhaust. It rusted and got banged up. So the story of the car is, the guy I bought it from is a friend. It was his mother-in-law's car. They've had it, I think, since new. I didn't really ask that, but the way they were talking, it sounded like they'd had it since new. And basically it stopped getting used on the road for the most part, and they were just using it to like haul feed for the goats around the farm. And I guess they got into something with the exhaust, because it's from the cat to like this much of the pipe's missing off the exhaust. So that's what you're hearing. You know, those are kind of the things I need to fix on the car. I need to polish the window. There's some windshield wiper streaks, because again, they weren't using it on the road, so they didn't care enough to fix it. The seats are torn up. We got to figure that out. Center console's busted and torn up. That has to be replaced. You know, and I'm going to do these things. I'm going to replace these because I genuinely like this little car. Cars have gotten so complicated and so expensive that a lot of younger people, they don't think they can get into cars and have a good time. You know, the social media makes it sound like if you don't have a 500,000-600,000 horsepower car, well, why even bother coming out anywhere? That's just not true. One of the funnest cars I've ever owned was my 90 Geo Prism, and are you ready for this? The 1.6 liter in this makes 100 or 105 horsepower, brand new. The 1.6 liter in my old one made the same. It's 0 to 60 is like 12 to 14 seconds or some crap like that. Like, I've had multiple cars that would go faster than 14 seconds down a quarter mile bone stock. Like, it's not going to be a fast car, but the car was fun because it was my first car, kind of, and I could do all these things to it. And the other really fun car that I look back on was my Miata. I loved that little Miata. It was so much fun. It was just a little go-kart on wheels. And this gives me a lot of that feel. It feels a lot like a little go-kart on wheels. And that makes sense, because if you look back in the era I grew up in, and if you can't tell, I'm old. Hi, I was born in the 1900s, as some of the children like to say now. You know, I was born in 1983. I came up as drifting was starting. I came up as Initial D was being shown on TV. You know, these things happened. Like, I grew up and I was watching World Rally Championship in the middle of the night on Speed TV, hiding from my dad. Sorry, Dad, if you see this. I was 2 in the morning. I know I should have been asleep. My grades suffered because of it, but like the Subarus and the Mitsubishis and the Focuses and the all-track Celicas ripping around these roads were just so cool to me, especially since I was driving a little 4-cylinder car. They sounded like my car. So I grew up watching all of these things and watching them do all this stuff, and you know, I was able to do that. And I grew up in Florida where everything was straight line. We didn't have any of that. So obviously this 100 horsepower car is not going to be that much fun just going straight and flooring it. But where it will be fun is going around corners. You know, if I get on a twisty enough mountain road, I'll be able to keep up with anything in this little car. It's like a Mini Cooper or whatever you want to say. Any of these little cars, if the road's twisty enough to where you're constantly having to be on the brakes, I'm going to keep up. You know, I did that a lot with my Miata, where it's much more powerful cars couldn't outrun me because they couldn't keep up. I had an 85 Celica when I first joined the Air Force, same thing. There were many cars that were much faster than my car that you point us in the corner and I could just flat out drive the other people. So that's going to kind of be the goal of this little car, is I'm going to build a Touge car. If you don't know what Touge is, we'll go back to it. Again, I was in that perfect time frame as I was growing up to watch Tsuchiya on Best Motoring and Hot Version Motoring running the Touge, which is a mountain pass racing in Japan. It's where drifting started, they say. I'm sorry, I've seen the Dukes of Hazzard. They were sliding Chargers around in the dirt long before people were sliding cars around on mountain roads. But I will give it to them. That's where it became a sport. But it got real big over there. And because of the gentleman's agreement that they had in Japan with the manufacturers, where the police and the government said, you can slow yourselves down or we'll make legislation and slow you down, they had to cap all the cars at 300 horsepower, or like 298 or something like that. That's why, if you look back at your R34 GTRs and R33 GTRs, they're 300 horsepower. That's why the Supra was originally a 290 horsepower, 300 horsepower car. You know, all these cars were capped at that horsepower rating. The RX-7 was as well. And for a long time, they couldn't make a car above that. That's why, you know, it was what it was. Same thing with the NSX. I think it was a sub 300 horsepower car, or right at 300 horsepower. But what they did have was these beautiful mountain roads up there with all these twisty things, and they would go out and they would start ripping around these mountain roads. And you started having toge racing, and that's where Initial D came from. You could start watching, you know, they made mangas and videos and video games about this, you know, and you get out there and start going around the corners, and again, power, while it is always important, you could easily overpower the corner. You could never go full throttle. I kind of have that problem now with my Infiniti with Project Gamera. It's 500 horsepower. I have to constantly be thinking on any of these roads, okay, when can I use the throttle? Like, can I go full throttle ever? Or am I constantly off the throttle because the roads are dirty and, you know, I'm not on a clean racetrack. You know, I can't just slam it down to the ground. And part of the problem with the Infiniti is I'm on stock wheels and it really needs wider wheels. And I just haven't found a set in my price point that I like yet. So, is this car going to replace Project Gamera in like the videos and the toge stuff? No. Project Gamera is going to be my nice car. That's going to be my Porsche, my fun car, and I'm building that car out like I would if I was still in high school. Like, I have the money to spend on it, but like, I'm thinking about putting neon on that car. I'm thinking I got the big goofy wing on it. We got the rest of the stuff to go around it. But what people haven't caught on yet is that anything that has to do with performance in the car, real performance, real power performance in that vehicle, is going to be probably mostly AMS stuff, because I think they're the best when it comes to that platform. I'm going to make that car handle. I'm going to make that car rip. It's going to have the goofy stuff on it, but it's going to be fast. That car will be a fast car. This car is going to be a little more serious looking. It's going to be a little more grown up looking. It's not going to get the big wing. It's not going to get neons. But it is going to handle really well. Because again, there's not much weight there. This car weighs 22,000 to 2,400 pounds, depending. So, again, why this car? Why not just buy the Corolla? Price-wise, they're the same car. Why not go for the cheaper car? Why not a Honda? My little brother was a Honda guy. I'd never really had them. And I did look. I love an EG hatchback. Civic. I think they're beautiful cars. I think they're super cool cars. They've gotten ridiculously expensive. And, you know, let's look at the Hondas price for price. So this car brand new was $10,000. To get close to that in the very base model of the Civics, you're looking at $11,000 for a brand new car. That makes no difference. That would be the 1.5 liter single overhead cam. This is the 1.6 liter single overhead cam. It's really a dual overhead cam. It has two cams in there, but it only has one cog on the front of it. They're gear driven inside. That engine made, this engine makes, like I said, right at 105 horsepower, something like that. Their engine made similar horsepower numbers, 105, 100 horsepower, 98 horsepower, somewhere in there. When you put them price to price, which is how I like to look at cars. If one car costs $30,000, I'm not going to compare that car to a car that costs $100,000. It's going to get compared to the $30,000 car. So I have a gripe when people do that, when they take like the performance car from one company and match it up to another company, like taking you know, a Scat Pack and matching it up to one of the Corvettes and be like, it just doesn't go around the corners as well. No duh, they're different price points. They're different vehicles. They do different things. But, you know, if we're looking at price point, we're comparing them price to price, they're the same price. And a lot of people have asked me what year Honda it is, what kind of Honda this is, and this, that, and the other. It kind of just has a general look where it blends in. So, I am going to paint it. I know when I was looking around, the paint was real rough on it. I'm going to go back to the original color. I like the original color. I don't feel like doing the door jambs. When I say I'm going to paint it, I'm literally going to paint it. My buddy owns a body shop. He's going to let me use his space to paint this vehicle when he doesn't have anything else going on. We're going to get it painted. But before we do that, we're going to go through it. You know, doesn't need brakes right away, but I'm going to do new brakes. The things that I need to do right away. I've already done an oil change. It needs an engine flush. It literally looks like somebody overheated this car, ran out of fluid, and said there's a mud puddle at a clay field, and like scooped water into it. That's how muddy the radiator and the cooling system is. It doesn't run hot, but I'm going to fix that. I've also noticed that it seems to have a very small leak around the thermostat housing. So I'll be replacing that. While I'm replacing that gasket, I'll go ahead and replace the thermostat just so I don't have a problem with it. So we got to flush it. I want to do transmission fluid. It's a manual transmission. It's a couple of quarts. Knock that out. And then the big one will be the timing belt. I don't know when the timing belt was done on this engine. This engine is what's known as a non-tolerant engine, meaning that if the timing belt breaks, the piston's going to hit the valves more than likely, and it ruins the entire engine. And an engine cost almost as much as a car for this car. So we're going to make sure I don't have to replace an engine prematurely. Miles-wise, according to the odometer, 233,000 miles. As I said, I had one of these before, the older one, same engine, same transmission. I got 500,000 miles out of that car. And it was the transmission that started acting up, not the engine. So we're going to keep good full synthetic oil running through this. The AC doesn't work. I'm going to have to fix that before it gets summertime if I want to drive this in the summertime. Again, I'm old, it gets hot. What else? This driver's side mirror is broken, so we're gonna replace that. That's $40. The door handles were $27. I've already got the exhaust ordered. That was $350 for a full exhaust. So we're gonna put that in there. We're not gonna go extreme. I'm not gonna pull the engine out and start port matching ahead and everything and trying to make this thing rev higher and make it work. Oh yeah, the speedo doesn't work. So a new speedometer dash cluster's there. I bought one that came with a tack. It should be a plug-and-play swap. We'll do a short video on that. Seats, I'm probably gonna find a cheap set of race seats from Amazon to bolt in here just because there's no point in paying to have these reupholstered. The headlining I got an idea for. Floor I got an idea for. Really what's going to be hard for me is finding parts like the center console. I found a couple, but they're like $120. So I got to find parts that aren't broken. This center console is really bothering me. I need to get one of those ordered. I hate to do it, but I'll probably will. Repaint it. We're going to have to replace headlights and taillights. They're faded. When it's all said and done, I'm going to be about $5,000 into this, I feel like. And if you ask me how much it costs to buy a good used car, $5,000 is what I think it's going to cost. You know, it does have a name. Some of my friends named it. When I first started showing pictures of it, they said, why are you getting another money pit? I've decided to name the car the Money Pit. And again, I'm not going to go extreme. In Japan, in the Corolla chassis, they made an all-wheel drive version of this. You could get it with the 4AGE motor in it. You know, it'd be real easy for me to be like, I want to do this, this, and this, but as busy as I am, I just don't have time. If I wasn't working 10 hours a day, I would love to build the ultimate Geo and really mess with people. And you'll notice I'm not calling this a Toyota. I'm going to continue to call this a Geo. I'm going to have to 3D print Geo badges for the front of it and the back of it because I want people to know this is a Geo Prism. It's going to be different. It's going to be unique, but it should be fun. And it doesn't matter how much your car costs you when you get into this. If you're a young guy and you just want to do something fun, the car you got is better than the car you don't have and you can't afford. I'm not one of those people that's like, oh, save it and do this. Now, with this one, you'll notice, again, I'm not talking about porting heads. I'm not talking about doing any major stuff. It's all simple bolt-ons. Reliability is important to me on this vehicle. This vehicle will pull double duty. This may need to be used as a work car again. And so I'm not going to go crazy on it. I'm going to do those things. Now, here's the promise I'll make for you guys. If YouTube takes off for me, and that's a big if, but let's say YouTube takes off for me and I start making money on YouTube as like a real influencer, a real YouTuber, I'll build this. I will build this to be something stupid. And then we will go to the tail of the dragon and harass Porsches and Lamborghinis and everything with an all-wheel drive 4S GTE turboed Geo Prism. You know, but like I got to have the house paid off. I got to have my daughter's college fund taken care of. All of that has to be taken care of, right? Before I decide to do that. But if I take off, I start making good money doing this, I'll do that build if y'all are interested in that build. For now, it's going to be a very simple build. I want this to be something that anybody can say, hey, that looks like fun. I can do something like that, you know. And then you got to start looking and figuring out where you're going to get, you know, what car you're going to get. Is it going to be Geo Metro and you're going to build like a Suzuki Swift kind of car, which is real popular over in Japan? Is it going to be that EG Civic, NSX, if you got good money, you know, a Corolla or a Celica? Like, what do you want to build? What can you get? Or maybe it's just a little pickup truck like I love doing. You know, there's nothing wrong with any of those. I will never be the person that's respect all builds, because if you take a car and ruin a car, you know, that like cut the springs and then sand the fenders so they rust, and just because you like that doesn't mean I have to like that. Same thing with this one. Just because I'm going to enjoy this doesn't mean you have to. This may not be your thing, and that's okay. My channel is ADHD enough, wait for it, the stuff will come back around. But you don't have to have a 500 horsepower car to go out and have a good time. One of the favorite things I'm looking forward to is up north of me, they do a thing called Toge Fest every year. My hope is to have this car done enough to invade Toge Fest with it. So Toge Fest is a like 80s, 90s model import cars. And I'm going to be pushing the edge because technically this is a USDM car because it has a Chevy badge. But when it pops the hood and they see Toyota in it, I don't know what they're going to do. But I'm going to go out there, I'm going to have a good time. I'm going to follow the Civics around. I'm going to follow, you know, the Subarus around, all these cars around, and just have a good time and a blast. And hopefully prove to everybody that you don't have to break the bank to do this. You know, I could easily cut a lot out of the budget if I wanted to. You know, I'm $900 into the car. I bought cheap coilovers. They were $200 shipped. I didn't have to fix the door handles. Like, I could have left the door handles alone. I could have just done the mechanical stuff that needed to be done in the car. I'd be in the car $2,500, out ripping around having a good time, except for tires. Tires are going to be rough. But, you know, you don't have to spend a ton of money to have a car and have a good time in it. Things are getting more expensive. It is getting harder. You're going to have to be smart. You're going to have to pick it, you know. I'm a muscle car guy. I would much rather be building a 68 Firebird or a Ford Falcon or, you know, something like that. I've been priced out. It's just that simple. I don't have time to... I would either have to buy one that is so down, so destroyed, that I could afford it, and then it would take me years, and I don't have the time right now, or I'd have to be willing to spend the good money on a great starter car and go from there. And I just can't right now. So I'm going to have fun doing this and tinkering on this. So, you know, hopefully this makes you guys understand. I know I rambled a little bit. This is a long video. I'm sorry. But we're at the end of it, guys. Let me know what you would like to see. What kind of things would you like me to do with this little car to kind of be some fun stuff? I got some other ideas coming for it. I'm really going to lean into the Touge thing with it, just because, you know, Touge and autocross, I want to do some autocross events in this. And, you know, I think it's a good starter. But let me know what you guys think. What should I be building? What should I not be building? Just let me know. Anyway, guys, like I said, we're at the end of it. I love y'all. I hope y'all are having a wonderful weekend. And remember, life's an adventure. Get out.